students coming out of college who are going to go into a classroom, I would first say thank you, and then just offer them this guidance to always trust that the process, even when it doesn't look like it's going to work, the process will work. You just have to engage in what it is you are committing to do. And don't be afraid to reach out for the support that you need, because I think that so many of our young educators fall by the wayside because they don't get the support that they need or that they want or that they feel they deserve, and they do. They don't know what to ask for, and they don't know how to ask for certain things because this is brand spanking new for them. So I would encourage that new college graduate to find a school that you are just the right fit for. Build relationships with your team, with your administrators, and rely on those people to help you get through those pivotal points that can become discouraging because you are kind of unsure of what the next thing needs to be. But just to hang in there and trust that the process works if you really engage in and with that process.
And just to add to what Dr. Taylor said, I definitely commend any new teacher for following your passion and coming into a wonderful profession. And we welcome all educators. The advice that I would give, or the guidance, would definitely be to make sure that you're not afraid to speak up, and make sure that you're not afraid for your voice to be heard. A lot of times it's really easy to sit in meetings or sit with veteran teachers or educators and feel like they've been doing this forever. They have all of the answers. And a lot of times we do have a lot of the answers, but what we don't have are that fresh set of eyes or that new innovation. And a lot of new teachers have so many new things to offer that we're not even familiar with, but sometimes they are afraid to speak up because they feel like, oh, well, I haven't been doing this long enough, or they don't feel validated. So don't be afraid to speak up. Share your ideas. We need them. We have been doing things for a very long time in education, and we know a lot of the nuances, but your ideas may be something that could solve new problems that we're experiencing, or even old problems. So your voice is just as valuable as anyone else's that's been there for a long time. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts and ideas.
I think that's so powerful because you can bring that new energy that might be just what the school needs to get to that next level.
Good morning. It's Super Saturday, everyone. Welcome to episode 153 in the REALL Academy with the System DoctHers, HERS. I am Dr. Sheka Houston.
Good morning, and I am Dr. Tammy Taylor, and we welcome you again to the REALL Academy. Thank you so much for joining us. We are super excited to be with you guys live today. Very, very looking forward to who all gets to join us this morning.
Yes, we have been pre-recorded the past couple of weeks, so we are definitely excited about being live this morning. And as we stated, episode 153, we're going to be talking about setting up systems of excellence. And today we're going to talk more about attendance. Last week we touched on that social and emotional awareness piece that is so important. But before we get started, we are going to start off with some announcements before we start doing our shout outs this morning. And shout out to Principal Hurt, or should we call him the Beard? I think that's what Principal Kafele may have put in the comments this morning. He did an awesome job talking to us this morning. Lots of great tips, always on fire. And we are also looking forward to seeing you, Principal Hurt, at the BER conference. So, speaking of the Rock Conference, here is the advertisement for that. Um, Dr. Taylor and I will be presenting there. If you have not registered, we will put a link in the comments. It's going to be July 18th through the 21st next week in Houston. So we will be presenting a session on Bill My Sister, where we will be talking about how that program helps develop Black women in leadership. So looking forward to that. Still time to register. We talked last week about this being one of the best conferences we've ever attended. So if you have never attended the Rock Conference, make sure that this is one that you put on your list.
Yes, this is a very powerful experience, and we look forward to seeing those of you that can make it in Houston next week.
Most definitely. And Sunday, I will be headed to San Antonio for the Avid Summer Institute, where I will be the MC. That's July 16th through the 18th. These are the featured speakers that I will be working with and helping the audience to connect with their stories. They won the speaker contest that Avid provides, and they have phenomenal stories that are so inspiring. So I have enjoyed working with them for the past few months to get ready for this, and we are ready for Summer Institute San Antonio. That'll be coming up Sunday.
Yay.
And Tammy is also going to be going to Kentucky, right?
Yes,
Tammy,
Kentucky.
for her superintendent's presentation that will be through at Mentum. She's going to be talking about her school improvement strategies where she used their programming, but also several other things that made her school where it is and the success that they've had so far. And finally, we will also be presenting this year in September at Coach Fest. So if you have not attended Coach Fest and you are a coach, an aspiring coach in any capacity, Coach Fest is a phenomenal conference. Their theme this year is coaching for goals. So our topic for our session is protocols to perfect your practice. And Tammy has served as a coach before. We coach principals and coach teachers, so we have lots of information to give about coaching. I don't know if you want to say something about that one, Tammy.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when we were talking about whether or not we should even do it, I think it's just a wonderful experience because no matter what aspect of leadership you're in, at some point you have to step in and play the role of the coach. And if it's only as the motivator or the inspiration for getting your folks in a huddle to come out on fire, to do better, to win, because that's what the coach wants. The coach is getting you in there and preparing for a win. So we're excited to be a part of such an amazing experience. And we love that coaching for the goal. So we're
Yeah,
excited about being a part of an impactful experience in September.
most definitely. And that is linked on my page if you would like to register for that conference. So we would love to see you there. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're going to shout out our folks, our fam who is with us. We haven't been able to do that the past couple of weeks. So Mrs. Truesdale from
I know I've
Atlanta.
missed them too, haven't we? We
I
just
know
missing people.
we have, and they've been here each week. So we
Yes.
appreciate you.
We thank you for watching our pre-recorded episodes. We do appreciate that.
Yes. So Mrs. Truesdale, assistant principal in Atlanta, who's been on with us before. Thank you for joining us. Principal Rashard Davis from Las Vegas. We always appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Queen Jasmine Harris, Principal Queen out there on the West Coast, and it's early, so we always thank you for joining us. And September, Devon Vance Daniels, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us always. Josh Tovar, Principal Josh Tovar, and our fantastic four member. Thank you for being here, Josh. Buenos dias. Stacy L. Joy, good morning. Principal Sherrod Davis, good morning. He's in Greenville, North Carolina. Mrs. Rail Purposeful, good morning. Principal Sean Hurt, we're going to start calling you the Beard now. Good morning. Miss Dot McKeever Jeter, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Kenyelle Williams, thank you for joining us. And Miss Melissa Jones Chunu out in Oklahoma, thank you for joining us. And the GOAT is here, our mentor, Principal Kafele, with the top YouTube channel in education leadership. We're trying to get our stuff optimized. Principal Kafele, you're the example to follow. So every time you put out
Yes.
an example, we make sure we try to follow the template. So we always appreciate you and your mentorship. Thank you for joining us. Miss Kathy Reed, thank you for joining us. Lynette Wilson, good morning. Kenya Rollins, or Roland. Tammy, you know I ain't got on my glasses, so you might have to.
Honey, my screen has gone crazy. I'm just smiling because I can't see a thing.
uh, Principal Central Hicks, good morning. Angela B, good morning. Dr. Melanie Harris Gallman, good morning. And she has a show that she is also putting on, I think, on Mondays. So, congratulations. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, Queen. Derek Gray, Christina Mims Alsop, and I think we got one more. And this is Miss Brown, looks like. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to go back to some comments that I missed, and Tammy's going to get us started. Where, or if you would do the ones that I missed, Tammy, and I'll get us started. So, our topic for today, we're still talking about systems of excellence. And I'm going to put back our three systems for create and educate are systems of respect, systems of leadership, and a system of excellence. So we've talked about the first two. We are delving down into those systems of excellence that you need to have the right systems to start you off for an effective school year. We define systems as effective messaging plus effective processes that equals success over refinement. So we are going to get started with that topic today. And like I said, last week we talked in the lens of that social and emotional awareness, which is really important for having systems of excellence in place. Today we're going to be looking at the attendance aspect because we use attendance as data, but what attendance actually measures is whether or not anybody actually wants to be at your school. So we look at it from the teacher aspect. You know, do the teachers want to be there? And we also look at it from the student aspect. So when we look at attendance, we are not just looking at the numbers. The numbers are the data that is telling us something, is giving us a message about what exists at our schools. Do we even have schools people want to come to? So there's a tool in our training that we use to help people to determine whether or not you have certain things in place. That tool looks at the teaching and learning environment, the overall environment, whether or not safety exists there, and if relationships are in place. So one of the things that you know, you definitely have to start off by communicating the importance of attendance. Um, Having up posters in the office helps, and also messaging home to parents help. But I know Tammy, you probably could speak better to this, and I just know from a parent's perspective sometimes parents don't understand the importance of children being at school in those preschool and early age categories. And I know that from experience because when I got the little call message thing about the children being late every day, and I'm asking my husband, where are y'all on the way to school every day? Why y'all late? You know, they on like the fifth tardy. Oh, they want to go to Starbucks every day. But it's just preschool. They ain't doing nothing but coloring. No, sir. They are doing more than coloring. So sometimes that perception of, it's just coloring in crayons, it's just kindergarten. What does it even matter? Sometimes you have to explicitly state to people what is happening because their experience may not be the experience that we're having right now for the need for children to be at school.
It does really resonate, Sheka, because when you think about it, it's it is that aspect of parenting too, that the earliest grades are not that significant because what are they doing? I mean, how much can you do in pre-K and what can you do in kindergarten? They can't read, they can't write, is how parents are sometimes looking at that, but that's where they're learning those foundational things so that they can learn to be strong readers and strong writers. I love though what you said about that attendance being not just the data about who's showing up, but it's also like a gauge on the barometer of culture. Because if you're creating an environment where children want to be and where staff want to come every day, because what's worse than going to a place where you really don't want to be and you have to stay there all day long. You got to be there for 7.5 hours in a place that you really don't want to be in. So you want to create that environment that is conducive, not just to learning, but welcoming to staff and students where they want to be. But just to speak to your thoughts about parents, especially at the elementary level, we have to really pay careful attention and truly be cognizant of the situations that children are coming from, because sometimes, well, all the time, honestly, in an elementary school, if a child is late, it really rests in the lap of someone else. Some adult should be there preparing them to get to school on time or preparing them to be there, period, in some cases. But I've seen situations where you kind of touched on this when you were talking about everybody has a different reality about what school represents. And sometimes it's just the inconvenience of having to get up early yourself and get the kids ready and out the door to be at school on time or even to come. So you do have to really create efforts and make this a part of the system that you have in place to make parents really aware of why being at school is so important and why being at school on time is so important. And when you do that, most parents will meet you at least in the middle. Now, sometimes there are circumstances where a parent is one car in the family and the person worked third shift. And so they're trying to get there. I've seen all kinds of things that are very legitimate. But when you have those kinds of things as leaders, that's where we step in and try to work with them. When we were preparing, I was telling you about at my school, some of the children have to walk to school because they're too close for a bus to pick them up. And the streets are not safe. So children can't always walk those streets, even though that's the rule. I had to send my resource officer to get kids because they didn't have a way to get there. Nobody was willing to walk them up there. I've called parents and said, hey, what's going on? Where's Sheka today? Sheka's supposed to be in this session with us, and we were calling to check and see what's going on. Oh, well, I had to go to work early, and so I didn't have anybody to get her to school. I'll walk down there and get her. So we have to do our part in making sure that parents understand how important it is to us, and
Right.
that we're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure those kids can be there and be there on time. And I'll just say this while we're on that part of making sure that we have an environment that is appropriate enough for people to want to be a part of it. When you do have those folks that show up, and they show up every day, and they show up every day on time, or in my case, early, like, I've got people at work at 6 o'clock. When you have those people on your staff, celebrate them and make sure they know how much you appreciate that they go that extra mile, because it goes without saying that that's commitment. But sometimes it's good to hear and know how much you appreciate it for being that valued team member.
Most definitely, Tammy. You definitely have to shout out and celebrate your people, and you definitely have to meet parents and children, where they are. And that's why when we talk about that messaging with our systems, that our system, the messaging is so important, because if you're talking to parents as if you are looking down on them, they will shut down and they're not going to meet you halfway. But any parent that I spoke to, hey, let's talk about how I can help. We've got, certain services in place that can help. Let's figure out a plan to way to help you to make sure your child is at school, because I want you to be successful as the parent getting to work, and I want your child to be successful here with me at school. And we've had children reach out to us over the phone, at the middle school. They're old enough to use the phone and call, and hey, I missed the bus. Can somebody come get me?
That's
Yeah, we coming to get you.
because that means you've set up that space that they want to be in.
Exactly. This was somewhere they wanted
That's
to be.
amazing. Yeah,
So, that's that first question that you have to answer as a leader. Have I set up a place that is somewhere everybody wants to be? Do you even want to be there? And so the tool that we use when we're examining this, we want people to self-assess as a school, and then we come in and do an outside assessment as well. But that first piece is like Tammy stated, this is climate. All of this is climate and culture, relationships. So when students do come in late, are they greeted warmly or are they fussed at? Now, Tammy just stated that these are mostly, when they're coming late, adult things, unless they're driving to school. So if they are late and you have somebody in your front office who you have not trained and is, giving everybody the business about why they late, they running their mama and their daddy down, nobody wants to hear that. This is not a place where somebody is going to want to come. If they are late, you've got to train people on how to receive late students.
absolutely.
So that's step
And that
number one.
includes teachers. Like, you have to
Yes,
create the climate in your school where when a child comes in late, they're not greeted with sarcasm
right,
and a cold shoulder. Oh, so so glad Sheka finally got to school. Now
right.
maybe we can get started. We cannot have that kind of attitude towards children when they're coming in late, especially when they're little children.
Mhm,
Now, if you drive to school and you come late every day, we're gonna have to stage some kind of intervention. Like, we
mhm.
need to put her on the bus. Shika is determined that she's not gonna drive to school on time. Send her on the bus tomorrow. Maybe she'll figure out that she needs to drive in on time. But when you're small and somebody is bringing you to school, oh, I'm so glad you're here.
Exactly. I'm
And you
so
don't even
glad you
have to
made
say
it.
finally.
Right,
You've got to be strategic about the way you deal with the children, because I don't, sometimes I don't say anything. I've been in the office before, and one parent in particular, she had some chronic tardy issues, and she would say, "I know, Dr. Taylor, I know, I'm gonna do better next week. I'm gonna do better." I didn't even open my mouth. I greeted her
right.
with
'Cause
good
she
morning
knows.
and a smile, but she knew what the expectations are, because the thing that we have to keep at the forefront of our minds about attendance is, you cannot teach children who are not at school. teachers who are not at school cannot provide instruction. So we need them to be there.
And in that vein, I want to address what Dr. Ross stated about a school district sending children to who were tardy to in-school suspension. Now, you know this as the MTSS director, this kind of stuff tears my nerves out the frame because we already adding up the time from them being late, missing class. Now we're gonna add more time of them not being in class to get tier one instruction because they sitting in ISS for being late to school. So usually that is not my approach to address tardies, not in a punitive manner in that sense. We use interventions, and we'll talk more about that later on. But you have to think about how much time this child is missing out of tier one instruction because of something, a punitive infraction that didn't have to be there. So
For
we're
sure.
actually hurting them
Because
more.
you've taken them out of the instruction that they really are desperately in need of. And teachers, because we know we have teachers that tune in with us. We are not saying, we're not taking lightly the fact that it is very disruptive for you to get kids in the middle of the period. Like I get it.
But
What am I
Tammy,
supposed
it's
to do?
more disruptive for them to be on their caseload as a student who gonna be taking the state test and ain't been in a class to be taught.
But it's much more disruptive at the end of the day for there to be that disconnect, because the more we isolate them or X them out because we are hacked off that they're late every day, the more of a barrier that's built, the more chronic that tardiness becomes. We need to nip those kinds of things in the bud, because the bottom line is we're looking for solutions to the issues that plague us. And what we want to do is be able to work together, because again, the ultimate goal is for students to be taught by teachers.
Most definitely. And Miss Truesdale put up some great things, and a lot of other people have put up some great tips as well.
Yeah.
Um, this must be something that we're very excited to talk about because we're already out of time, Tammy. We got 1 minute left.
Yes,
So this we will continue the attendance discussion because it is something that people are struggling with all over the nation. And there are several strategies that you can use that are not punitive that we want to share and have you share with us. So thank you all for tuning in. We
thank
hope
you
that
so
you
much.
join us next on Principal Kafele's page for the AP at New Principals Academy. On Sundays, PGP podcast with Principal Josh Tovar and Dr. Morena. And then back here on Super Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. with Principal Sean Hurt, known as the Beard, kicking us off, and yours truly, Dr. Sheka Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor, Create and Educate at 10:30. You all
Yes.
enjoy the rest of your
Great to see
Saturday.
you guys again today.